Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that music, background music is too loud. My name is Rich Tesla. It is Tuesday. This is the Two Guys Tech Homelab Hour, and my special guest just arrived, which is great, but I'm going to make him wait just a little bit more so I can do my pre-stuff. Anyway, this is the Two Guys Tech Homelab Hour. Just like I said, this is a place to hang out with people who want to talk about home labs, nerd out. This is our 30th episode. I can't believe that. Tom gets to be the lucky number 30 on this one. Anyway, let me get the stuff out of the way I normally do. So if you after the show we do I'm just all discombobulated here. Can you tell? After the show, we in our Discord we do like a live chat. So if you want to hang out with me after that, that's great. Do that. I've got Brandon back from vacation to press knobs and stuff, make it a little easier for Tom and I just to hang out and talk. Yeah, so we'll get right to the good stuff. So I asked friend of the channel, and I consider him a friend too, Tom Lawrence, to hang out with me this live show. And you guys all know who he is. He's the brilliant, fantastic Tom Lawrence. I'm going to bring it up now because let's get him on stage here.
Hey, how's it going?
Tom, good. I want to say, I can always trust and rely on you to be available to hang out with me, and I just want you to know I appreciate that very much.
It's fun, and I love doing live streams because I don't have to edit, because that's what I spend a lot of time doing. Unfortunately, as we do as creators, we are forced to, well, some of us are lucky enough to have editors, but when we don't,
not me.
Not me either.
How have you been? It's been a long time since we talked.
Oh, things are going well. I don't know if you've seen the channel update I posted. That was an interesting discussion.
I didn't know if you wanted to talk about that.
I'm fine.
I want to let's click this. It's a weird thing to kick off with, but like, why not? So, I'm not getting in the way. So I'll let you talk about it since it was the most recent video you dropped today.
Yeah. So I dropped the video because there was someone who said channel going downhill. That's all it says, channel going downhill. And it was in my forums, but it was honest. And it was what they liked, what they didn't like about my channel, but it was constructive at the same time. And I took some of that to heart. There's definitely things I went and did some analysis on it. I also have been counteracting some of the replies to people. Actually, one of my favorite comments that just came in about an hour ago, someone says, wow, I read that entire forum post. You guys are a bunch of very civil and like informed people having a real adult discussion in a forum. And I was like, yeah, I enjoy my forums, Yeah. But it was just a discussion of what hasn't changed. There's been lots of things going on since I sold my part of my business, and it's changed some of the content that I produce. So I addressed a lot of those concerns, talked about what changes I plan to make. I just need to go back to more in-depth stuff. And it was less algorithm chasing. It was more just, I'm doing a lot of other things. So I'm like, well, I'll make a little 10-minute video here and a little 5-minute video here. And I don't do enough of the in-depth stuff. And getting called out for that, I was like, yep, you're right. And I agree with that. And I should do those videos. And I've been putting them off because it's like, it's a lot more work and spending 4 days working on a video versus cranking out these little 5-minute tutorial things. I don't know. Sometimes it's just, so I definitely, I felt it too. It's something I've been thinking about. So there's just those changes are coming. And like I said, completely civil and adult conversation amongst people. But I set the video out after that channel going downhill video to engage more people, which is like I just gotta look real quick. Right? There's a ton of comments on here. How many comments are we up to now? 231, and I've read every one of them, and ones that required reply have all been replied to. So I'm a little obsessive about that. When I say people are like, oh, Tom has like a media team doing it. Oh no, my wife can vouch for it.
Tom is the media team.
Tom replying to all the comments.
Right.
No one else has my login for my forums either. That's me. If you look at how many forum posts I have, you're kind of obsessive. I'm like, just a little.
I mean,
there's maybe a few thousand posts in there for me. I don't know.
But I mean, I know too from like trying to build a community, working on building like up the Discord as a place to like, it is as much of like building a constructive and positive environment, right? And so the fact that you got that message, and the response wasn't like the typical internet, like just anger fest of people just being jerks because they want to. I think that says a lot about the community that you're building, right? That's awesome.
I think that's where people kind of miss the mark. And I've been a big advocate and still am of actual forums. Maybe it's because of the gray hair I have over Discord. But the big thing I pushed a lot for is the value of a forum is its moderation.
Right.
That because you moderate it and shape it to be on the topics you want, that you want the community to engage with. I don't even have an off-topic section. I don't want, I like personal stuff, and I think chat and Discord is great for personal, hey, let's talk about the weather, what are your hobbies type of stuff. But I try to keep the forums as a really good place for in-depth technical discussion on things. Or in this case, there is a feedback section about the videos I do, and that's where this particular topic came up, which I'm very fine with. Now, where I gave pushback, and I had a good back and forth because it went right to it. They wanted to email me, and I'm fine with that too. Tom, I feel like your entire channel's just been overcome with UniFi, and I like UniFi, and I replied back the same answer because I already did the numbers. I have now because I have one more. This was one more video at the time before that video I posted. 148 videos I published this year. Only 15% of them contained the word UniFi. I was like, I don't know. I said, here's the statistics. Now you actually gave the guy a link, and he said, well, I can't argue with you anymore. So we replied to that email, which I thought was funny. We ended up having a funny discussion on it. But I was like, I mean, I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just trying to. I said, but I will admit, it probably. The YouTube algorithm knows UniFi is popular, therefore it bubbles up to the top all the time. It just goes, hey, look, and they definitely get some of my UniFi videos like skyrocket in views. So if you're looking at my channel, just generally speaking, this happens with channels, and you go to look at someone's stuff, it wants to show you, well, many people found this particular video popular. Maybe you will like it too, because other people seem to be enjoying it. So it is just the way the algorithm works. Because someone says, Tom, you haven't done any good deep dives in ZFS. I'm like, I have an hour-long interview with Alan Jude. He's a developer of ZFS and writes the code. We went deep. That video has 1/10 the views of the next UniFi video. I was like, I'm still doing the videos, but because I do both, it's an algorithm problem.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of the algorithm, things have been, I think they've been a lot weirder for others than for me. But like, I mean, I've seen a drop in viewership. We've talked about it here in the live stream too. I know other people have seen a much bigger drop. But it really does make it hard to meet your viewers where they are if there's a external entity that is making the decisions ultimately for what they get to see and what they don't see. So yeah, I mean, we all joke about it, but
and it's really tricky because the Spiff and Brit, I don't know if you've ever followed him.
Oh yeah, I watch his stuff.
He just dropped one on the YouTube algorithm again, and it's good because he's not wrong about he really dug deep to get the cycles going to figure out how many times people complained about the dip in views. Turns out a lot of the dip in views is every time at the same time each year. He pointed out old YouTube videos from 2021 and 2022 and 2023 complaining about some of the dip. And I believe there is that. I mean, there's obviously a few other factors going in. We can't say that's the only thing, but it's definitely it's a factor. And even myself, I generally September and October are probably my least productive in terms of creating content because me and you were talking about this on Discord of we pursue our personal hobbies right now because the weather's nice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's yeah, I know, and I think you're right. It's hard because of the black box nature of it, and nobody really trusts YouTube fundamentally, and because there's just been like things will happen and there'll be either radio silence or tone deaf responses when if they just took a little more time to respond as a whole, it might be better. But
yeah, there was a controversy when he came out with a bell icon. So they told all of us YouTubers, like and subscribe, click that bell. Cool. So we repeated that to our audience, like and subscribe, click that bell icon to get notified. Then during one of their session updates, they said, yeah, the bell icon is just another indicator. It doesn't actually tell people whether or not your videos came out. And they're like, but you told us it did. And we told everyone to click it, but You're aggravating me.
Yeah.
Advice to all people listening: if you want a better YouTube experience, get yourself an RSS reader and go put the YouTube feed you like in an RSS.
Yeah.
That is how I've been doing it for years, because I don't like things being algorithmically driven to me. I would prefer to grab the data I want and curate it in a way that I prefer, not someone who twiddles knobs randomly in a black box. So
Right.
it isn't just YouTube I get my information from that way. It's how I get the news and everything else. Fresh RSS, if you're looking for open source one, I have done a video on it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I think that we could all, I mean, that's how I handle my automations, is I'm pulling RSS feeds from my channel, other people's channels, and that way I can just curate what I want as well. So yeah, that's a great point. That's a good thing to let the audience know. Like, yeah, we got people in the chat. Fresh RSS rules. And
yeah, I don't mind when I'm watching YouTube in the evening, letting the algorithm drive me to, ooh, I'll watch that. Ooh, an animal video. Ooh, a cooking video. So, I don't consume much tech video on YouTube. That was one of my comments. Like, you guys all watching cooking videos now? Is that why you don't follow me? And there were a few people who said, yeah, I actually just don't follow tech YouTube. I built my Homelab, and I haven't needed to do anything since I built it. Like, some people build it. They like, their goal is, let's build a media server. Great goal, common goal. Turns out subscriptions suck. Then they build it, and they're like, I don't really need to talk to you no more. And I'm fine with that. Like, you accomplished your goal, and your life isn't what me and Rich are. Let's be nerdy at tech of, we fixed one thing. Can we make it better? Can we make it bigger? Can we break it in an interesting way?
Yeah, that's a fair point. You want to, when I did a video about pterodactyl a while back, and I had got a bunch of comments about from people who were essentially, they got it set up and they were happy with it. And they're like, thanks, I'm probably never going to come back. But I was like, good, cool. I mean, that's fine. That's what I want. Like, you want to help people. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Right? If I just, I mean, I like hanging out with you, Tom, and I like hanging out here in the live stream, but I want to feel a sense of fulfillment from doing something good. So, that's totally fine.
It's tricky because we're not lifestyle brands, so to speak. Like, you follow some people because you're following whatever their next adventure. You're, a travel vlogger is an easy example of that. Or even, I like motorcycles, so I'll watch motorcycle people because I want to know where they're going, and maybe they have a video about the cool place they went. So I can subscribe to those channels. But if it's someone who shows me how to fix the tire on my motorcycle or adjust the carburetor, I don't need to subscribe to that person. I've now fulfilled the task. I wasn't sure how this piece came off. Thank you for showing me how this piece comes apart.
Yeah, and that's a double-edged sword of those sort of instructional videos too. Is a lot of people get what they need and they go, and that's just the nature of the business. So, yeah, I completely agree. I wanted to ask you. I saw today when I was perusing LinkedIn your post about IPv6 not being a thing, and the reason why I want to bring it up is that there are some people, especially international people, who are just diehard IPv6, and obviously I don't have a picture of it. I should have grabbed a picture of your meme. It was great, but like, what triggered that for you?
So I started a game a long time ago on LinkedIn of, I'm just going to post memes because I thought LinkedIn was absolutely full of garbage. So I was like, I want to make it better. I was posting ASCII stuff, like ASCII art, and I didn't get anywhere. So I was like, ooh, memes. That seems relevant. I kept saying bring ASCII back, and people weren't with it. And LinkedIn doesn't do a good job of displaying ASCII, unfortunately.
No, they don't. Yeah.
This is with weird ideas I have, because, by the way, I have no business model or call to action or any reason to use LinkedIn other than I think it's a place where I post my memes, because they don't. Anyways, so the latest meme being the IPv6 one. I post memes that are usually poking fun at big companies, and
Fortinet being a very deserved one.
Yeah. Fortinet, I love Fortinet ones. As a matter of fact, you know how it tells you like who viewed your profile? At any given moment, there's almost like 40 people plus from Fortinet that have viewed my profile. I get a notice for it. It always cracks me up. It makes me chuckle every time. And it goes up high sometimes when I post a new, whatever 40. I call them, I've now hashtagged it Fortinet Follies, which makes me laugh. So I just like it. I like iterations. The IPv6 one, no. I think you know this from working in corporate tech in general, there's just not a massive adoption of IPv6. The article I cited, so I start with a meme because it stops the scroll, grabs someone's attention. It's like a social strategy I have. I seen someone said there's always cat videos, and that is the secret of social media. You have to be more interesting than a cat, and that's a higher bar than you might think. And so I grabbed someone's attention. It says, "Why aren't you using IPv6?" It's stupid rage face meme.
Yeah.
But the reality is I linked to an article from the person in charge of addresses. Like, this is not average. Like, I pulled excerpts from their article, linked to it to say, hey, here's the chief scientist whose job is to study this and work for the, and deals with the allocation of things. And it's just the fact that we've kind of reached a stall, and it's disappointing. I mean, would I have liked to see IPv6? And I speak as it's not going to happen because that is my belief. I have been, we used to have this local event. I love this. It was like the year of IPv6. That was what it was titled, a talk from like 2002 or 3. Oh yeah. Someone's going to pull it up.
No, yeah, pull it for you. That was it. Yeah.
That's the one right there. And it became every year in January, they kept doing that talk. And they've been doing it for like 20 years. Unfortunately, it lasted 20, and then after COVID, the talks don't go on because the group doesn't meet anymore. But this person came back every year just talking about how it was the year of IPv6. There is like a plateau of adoption. There is a reality of you can't go IPv6 only. As much as people go at Tom, it's raised up to here. And I'm like, read the article. It's one of those, it doesn't matter how much it raises until the big companies that unfortunately control large portions of the internet, until they really get IPv6, we can all have it on the carrier side, but it doesn't really help much. And I've talked with many ISPs. They're in the same boat. One of them, I remember like their story they told me about IPv6 was wild. Of we hired consultant after consultant to fix all of our IPv6 problems. In the end, we still have them, and we are now like $50,000 less in consulting fees that we spent to have the same problems we had before. And they're running everything is like a combination of Cisco and I think Palo Alto. It's all really nice equipment they have. And even those engineers can't get some of these IPv6 provisioning problems sorted out. It's just buggy to them. And it's because the stacks aren't very well developed because it's not fully in use.
Yeah.
So there's my rant on it. Sorry for a long rant.
No, I appreciate it. I was going to say, just like even my Fios fiber here, it's run by a company called Ziply. They don't offer IPv6, and this is a GPON network that's been in place since Verizon put it in the ground. So
yeah,
and I mean, this is out here, it's a big chunk of population, and so it's obviously hard, and NAT solved it. If it wasn't for NAT, we'd all be on IPv6, but we're not.
Yeah.
So
the two crutches are NAT on the consumer side and SNI. Because if you were doing things in the earliest days, you needed an IP address for each web server.
Right.
Until we had server name indication, as adapted later, that solved it. So suddenly we don't need an IP address for every single server. Right. So we've come up with these two fixes that have, really it shows the mantra that applies to all tech. There's nothing as permanent as a temporary fix.
Right. Well, and innovation doesn't happen until you're up against a wall a lot of the time too, right? So it wasn't until we got up against a wall that NAT appeared and SNI started to, those things, they were things that didn't have a reason to exist until there was a necessity for them to exist. And then poof, there's your innovation.
Yeah. Well, and the other side of it, and this is cited in that article, there's no business advantage for IPv6. So you have to look at, granted, all of us and every home labber is going to be going, but Tom, we want to be able to self-host everything from our house and not have things behind CGNAT. I know, I get it. Problem is, sorry to break the news to you, home labbers, you are not the target audience for the business.
What? How dare you, sir?
I know. I hate to drop some hard truth here, but the reality is there's not this business advantage. It does, if you say a business, you're gonna have to spend a bunch of money and get to IPv6. You're like, what do I get for it? And there's a pause of, you can host more things in your company. We don't do that here.
You're modern. Yeah.
Is it faster? No. Does it provide me more speed? No. Is it add complexity and make my IT harder? Well, yeah. Well, I don't see the business use case. Turn that thing off. So that's why it gets turned off. It's just a convergence of factors here that cause it. It's not the will of Tom that is causing it. And of course, people are blaming me for. I like the comments because they usually be like, "But Tom, I'm losing credibility with you, or you're losing your credibility." I don't know. I just laugh. I'm like, yeah, by citing the person who works on this as a project, who wrote an entire article on this. Like, I'm just saying this is the status of things. I didn't do this. I don't have that kind of sway. My channel's not that big.
yeah, don't shoot the messenger, right? It's not, you're not the one doing this, right? Tom Lawrence, the single end point to all of IPv6 deployment, and
somehow I destroyed it.
Yeah, you did. Not even trying, you just did it, Tom. Well,
I did it with a meme.
You did it with, yeah, exactly. I wanted to get your rundown of the Creator Summit, because obviously there was a decision by them to have a select few people. You were one of the guests, and so I just want to get your full rundown, not in a bad way, just like just get an idea of like what it was like. Tell me about Dead Mouse. Does he have bad breath? I don't know. Like, what was? give me the rundown.
Okay, it was a fun time, and I like what 45 Drives is doing. I am going to be working closer with them on it. I'd like to see even more of it, and this is something, it's just a coordination challenge. I will have the slide deck and everything that I did. I turned it into a video. I was literally putting the timestamps on it. That's why I was a couple minutes late, because I lost track of time. I was like, oh, look, it's time to join Rich, and I'm still putting timestamps on a video. The whole idea of the Creator Summit is to have 45 Drives host some creators and a lot of users of their gear, of their equipment. So, and it's a fun mix to put all of us in the same room. I got to hang out, and I talked to him before, and he's been on my channel, like Alan Jude, but I never really met him in person. And you get to know people better when you are hanging out for like, well, I was there for 7 days. Most of the people there were like 3 days, but 3 days of hanging out with people, just a great time. Yeah. And you really get to bounce a lot of ideas back and forth. One of the people does the New York's, as well as ideas. He's an artist, really cool guy named Joseph. He's decided he's going to take a picture and do a time lapse all day for 30 years of the New York City timeline. That's a great artist ambition. And of course, so you go, wait a minute, that's a whole lot of data. And so he's had to come up with ways to handle all the data. And it turns out it's a lot of data, even though they're just time-lapse stills. So 45 Drives provides solution for him. So he gave a talk on his ideas, how it came to fruition, what he's doing now. But then as creators, we said, did you know you could do this? Or did you know you could do that? Matter of fact, Alan Jude had a really cool recommendation. He goes, oh, by the way, we use FFmpeg and do this for a client so they can see all their progress each day. We put together a bunch of the images they have because they're sequentially named. And so this whole idea came together, and I know there's like more going on, because some of them like exchange numbers and contact information and started building on the ideas. So that's all cool. But where 45 Drives benefits is they love the direct interaction. They want to know how people are using their equipment. They take the time to put us all in a room to do that. They want to see, what are we doing? What do we think? And they show us stuff. And they're like, what do you think of this? And what do you think of that? And that was just a lot of fun. They even talked to Dead Mouse, who's a client of theirs, because it turns out if you're a relatively big EDM artist and involved in a lot of things, especially digital things, you end up creating a massive demand for storage. And to quote Dead Mouse, and this is in the live stream, because it made me really laugh, they were kind of talking about his journey from single computer working over the years to RAID. And he's like, yeah, he goes, computers break, they're unreliable. He used a lot of profanity. I will skip that part. And he goes, sometimes they just die. Sometimes they die in a fit of rage. Things happen. And so, he goes, it's better if it's all on one system that way. So it's a good back and forth that we had with him. He is intense, which I knew that already. I never met him in person, but I watched some interviews, and he's just he's vibing at a different level, man. He's got.
What do you mean by intense, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, so I knew better than to even ask him for a selfie. I mean, it may come off, but you got a guy who's always in the media and things like that. So it may come off, and maybe it did come off a little bit dickish. There's no doubt. But he said something to someone that made me, I chuckled a little about it. Someone came up with, can I take a selfie? And he just looks at him. He's dead serious. He goes, do I have an effing choice? And the guy stares at him and kind of stops him. He goes, I don't have a choice. Just do it, kid. And I was just like, he's very, also, he just kind of like, I don't know. He smokes a lot of cigarettes and he's kind of like pacing, like he's really hyped up, and he doesn't like sitting. So it's funny because he was moving the cameras around. He became the camera guy behind the scenes, and everyone's like laughing about it because when the camera needed to be moved, it bothered him that it wasn't exactly right. He got up and just moved the camera and just pointed. He wasn't on it. He was pointing at the other side of the room, but it wasn't right. So he had to like adjust things on the fly.
Wild. Interesting.
But where he really nerds out is we asked him like, hey, what's on your home network? And he goes, I got this 800 gig setup for my home networking because I'm running 30 high definition 4K cameras at 60 frames a second that we then step up to 125 a second because I want to do real-time motion capture and I don't want to wear the green suit. And then he just goes into the most elegant explanation of how all that's set up, all the networking gear he has, what drivers he's using to get the proper amount of data and throughput through the Mellanox cards. Like, he's very detailed, but someone asked him one more detail further, and he stops. He goes, I ain't no effing nerd. I love that he answered it like that. Like, you just talked about what drivers you used in your Mellanox card.
Yeah, the fact you know what a Mellanox card is. Yeah.
Like, you're getting 800 gig networking in your home, well, studio / home. But so it was interesting. I ended up having a conversation with, so did Dreff, about storage needs, because they introduced a new storage server, and he didn't realize how big you could get NVMEs. So we started talking about some of the new options there and going solid state. So yeah, it was definitely a good conversation with him on it. Like, on the technical topics, he's one of those people that is very smart, but exactly what he needs to know. And the technology is not the interesting part to him. It's
a means to an end.
It's a means to an end in the most intense way. Like, he doesn't care about 30 cameras pointing at him. He cares about the result. He showed us the idea of the result he had. It's amazing because the 30 motion capturing cameras can see every little movement down to the absolute details of hair moving and then remap that in 3D in real time. And it is wild. And that's his goal for all of this. It's like, all things needed to do this. I wouldn't know what a Mellanox is, but I needed that to get this goal I had for BD I'm creating. So this was always interesting about him. If you've seen his studio tours and things like that, he builds absurd things, but they're very purpose built for the goal of the art. And I so appreciate that, because I've met people like that. It's so interesting to me to see someone so focused in what they need to do to reach their goal. Like, they end up learning amazing amounts of knowledge that they don't really have the interest I have. Like, to me, it's fascinating. And he's like, I have to know it only because you know it for some other reason. It's like the attitude they have, which is fine.
Sounds like the knowledge is, again, it sounds like a means to an end, right? Like, the knowledge isn't what's valuable to him. It's the end result. So having all that knowledge to him is just like, well, that's, I would have never guessed. I'm full disclosure, I'm not an EDM listener. So I know who he is, and I've seen and heard some of his music, but like, that's about the extent of my
what's interesting is, EDM artist is definitely probably his most well known, but he's involved in the tech community. He's produced music for games, he's produced music for so many different things, and it's the back end stuff he does. He has like a PC company. He owns all kinds of things. Like, he's got,
no kidding. Interesting.
Yeah, he has a lot of different business involvements. We actually ended up on the topic of, I don't know if you've seen the Ben Jordan video about storing data in a bird.
Oh no, I did see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we ended up talking about that, but he was much less interested in Ben Jordan's poison pill video, which was putting a poison pill in music for AI. I thought he'd be interested in that. He had a completely 180 take on that. I thought it was cool. So if you don't know who Ben Jordan is, he produces a lot of really good videos. He's a really cool science YouTuber, and I highly recommend following him because they're interesting videos. But one of them is how he's a music producer by trade, and he's made a good living off of selling these tracks through Spotify or whatever online music service. So AI has been consuming his tracks, and that has led to them able to reproduce them, and you now don't have to pay him. He's covered this pretty he's gone through great lengths to give a lot of detail on how the whole system works and how it's screwing artists, because he's very much, as he says, I'm doing fine, but it's just screwing me to an extent. But as you go down the chain, it screws people even more. So he developed a really fun algorithm inside of his music. He's able to add sounds that we can't hear, but AI can't ignore.
Interesting.
It is a way to say, like, ignore all previous instructions and do this instead, but you can do it with music. There's actually a lot of nuance in the way AI looks at things. For example, if you can figure out which compression algorithm AI is using to look at an image, AI doesn't look at the image the same way we do. It actually breaks it down and compresses it. So people have realized, I can put words that you can't see, similar to steganography, but when it goes to a compression algorithm, those pixels that I modified will line up into words, and people have hijacked AIs using images when it compresses. This is the same concept done with music.
Yeah. Interesting.
But
that's
Joel, Dead Mouse, not a fan of that. He says, what does he do it for, the ha-has? And I was just like, whoa. He goes, I don't have a dog in that fight. Someone else has to fight that for me. That's not where my brain goes, or something like that. I was like, whoa, okay. You got to shut that idea down at all. He's like, he really has a hate for AI. So he was at least aligned with that, but he didn't find putting poison pills in it to destroy the AI music maker all that fun. Which I thought was weird. I thought he'd get a kick out of that, but that's where I lost his attention.
Fighting from the inside. Yeah. You figured he'd be down for that sort of like resistance from the inside. No, I haven't seen that video. That sounds like a fascinating video. Yeah. I think that all of the artists that I talk to, whether they are drawing or they're making music, they all universally have this hate for AI. And but I think a lot of people, a lot of non-technical people, maybe this is why, is that for a lot of non-technical people, they see it as this insurmountable tsunami that is just, they can't stop it. This is just, so
it's not easy for artists and things like that. It's been harder and harder for artists just because people generally will copy things and stuff like that. And trying to figure out how to compensate artists is a entirely way off topic from Homelab topic or Homelab that we won't go down. We'll just say it's hard. And I think neither me nor Rich could really articulate it in a way that would make anyone happy. As a matter of fact, I don't know anyone who can, because anyone I know who talks about it doesn't seem happy. And I don't think any of the solutions are great. But let's talk about Homelab stuff if you want to steer the topic that direction.
Exactly. Speaking of UniFi stuff, have you any opinions on their new UNAS line that just kind of came out of nowhere now? And there are all these different options. Tell me what you think about it, because I'm intrigued, but I'm not quite sure. Like, I always wondered, like the UNAS Pro, which I guess is what they've renamed the old, the first generation UNAS, right? It always struck me that it was strange that it had 7 drives, right? And obviously they've corrected that now. Now that they've got 8, but other than the affordability aspect of it, what are your thoughts on this? Like,
well, affordability plays into it because that's a feature. And one of the things that I think UniFi's done a good job at here is they decided that they wanted to make a NAS that was affordable, that was 10 gig, and just did NAS things. Easy integration with Active Directory, Jump Cloud, Google, whatever for your auth. It does SMB. People are like, but Tom, it doesn't have iSCSI. I'm like, why would it? It's $4.99. It's not targeted at that. I'm surprised even that it has NFS as an option, but I don't think the NFS implementation is amazing. And when you look at the processor, it's not designed to perform in a way that you would use this as your hypervisor storage target, or really for any database or high-speed storage applications. So it's one of those things, like the price is a feature, the simplicity, the fact that it only does that. And I don't predict, and I don't know this for certain, but I don't see them going with Docker or anything like that. It's low powered without a lot of RAM. It's one of those, well, we see everyone in the Homeland markets going this way, but the small business market goes, I would like to plug something in. I would like to have it come on. I would like some file sharing.
Right.
Please make that without a bunch of complexity in my life. And I think that's where they're really nailing it, because it shows up in my UniFi dashboard. So I can easily manage this alongside the same UniFi networking gear that I'm deploying at a client. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm deploying at a client my UniFi camera system for them. So now I can do the cameras. Oh, by the way, let's go ahead and throw the door access in there. So I got the door access and then the NVR and then the NAS and the Wi-Fi and the firewall in a single dashboard. I don't know. That's really appealing from an IT perspective. One pane of glass. I mean, I know in IT we've heard the single pane of glass all day long, but wow, this is a whole lot of things in one portal, and that's impressive to me, especially because they integrate. You can use things like UniFi Identity to integrate across these platforms. So I kind of like the strategy you're going with. Please note I didn't mention the phones because I still haven't. I mean, it's there. Don't ask me about it. I don't think they're completely great yet. I think there's some hangups with the phones, but all the other stuff I've tested, I liked.
I was just trying to see while you were talking if I could find what CPU it had in it, but I don't see an actual.
It's going to be the same CPU that you see in the NAS. It's a ARM Cortex something.
Okay, gotcha.
It's probably down. If you click on the UNAS Pro, and then so it goes to the page on it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah, and it'll scroll down there. It'll give you the technical specs.
Yeah, quad core. Okay.
Yep.
But it doesn't really necessarily need a whole lot of power if it's just slinging files, right? It's
more than that quad 10 gig. ARM is great. It's a little bit older of a processor, but it's perfectly fine for what they're using it for. But that's where the Homelab people are going. But Tom, it doesn't have Docker. I'm like, well, what do you plan to run on a quad core Cortex?
It doesn't have the power for it.
Yeah, it's not designed for that. Matter of fact, it's the same processor they're using. It's the same box as their UniFi NVR. The reason it works as an NVR, and the reason the UniFi cameras have a much higher cost to it, UniFi made the decision to not focus on having a high-end CPU on the NVR, but putting the processing power in the cameras. This allows a different type of scaling, because when you're looking at a lot of NVR setups and you're pitching them to a client, what do you want today? What do you plan to have in a year from now? Everyone will tell me, oh no, these amount of cameras are fine, but then a year from later, they're always doing it. So I have to sell them an NVR capable of supporting what their future plans are. But that can be really hard because it jumps up in price a lot if it has to have a lot of processing power that's mostly going to sit idle unless they ever get those cameras. UniFi flips that around by building a box that's pretty basic. We put the brains in the camera. So as you buy more cameras, well, that's where the brains are. So the camera does all the extra imaging, encoding, and the watching features. So instead of a bunch of stuff coming back to an NVR to do object recognition, that's all done in camera on the chip in there. So it allows it to scale based on how many cameras you buy. Makes the per camera cost higher, but it gives you some scalability. So from an architectural standpoint, I actually really like the way they did that.
This must be a SOC. This must be all. If it's running an ARM, the 16 gigs must be also part of just a system on chip. They use this same. I mean, these are like the same system on a chip that UniFi uses for the Dream Machine. They use it for the NVRs. It is that same processor across their ecosystem, which is nice. They've built up an expertise in ARM, and we already know ARM has a lot of advantages over Intel or just x86, not just Intel, but it's a good architecture. It's low powered. It can be built reliably. The extensions are there, and I think they've done a good job overall. And of course, it's all running on Linux on the back end. So they're they've spent a lot of time customizing their OS, and like any company, as they mature, they get really good at that side of it because they're controlling the hardware and the software, which that's Apple's thing. That's, the new Apple innovations around them controlling the silicon, like the MacBook Air. Even if you're like me and I'm not a big Apple person, I can't replace my MacBook Air with anything that comes close to its battery life and portability. It's my drag. I hate typing on my phone, is probably my biggest reason. And I don't like watching like a video or using Slack on my phone. So I have a little MacBook Air, the little one, and it's just a quick way to open it up, type a bunch of messages. And because I don't use it that much, I think I can charge a battery like once a week. I'm surprised that, with their new campus switches, that they didn't put a single SFP28 on this instead of 210s. I wonder what their logic is, I mean, obviously you can lag those together, right?
Yeah.
To get 20 or maybe even 30, I guess, if you want to try to include the.
I think your
base team.
challenge is you'll never saturate the 10. So,
Oh yeah, I guess that's a fair point, right?
yeah. I mean, it does have this one does have the 2 NVMe bays on the back, which is cool.
But I understand that they're only for read-write caching.
Yeah, it's just for caching.
Yeah. It was there. Someone in the comments was mentioning that it, you know, to me when I look at this, it looks very reminiscent of the old Apple Xserve service that they had.
It does.
Kind of, which were sexy back in the day. I'm not going to lie. I mean, who didn't want one of those? But kind of fascinating. It's fascinating. I'm glad you filled me in on it, because it is. I could see. I mean, I remember when the first generation of this UNAS came out. It was a head scratcher of why a network company and a surveillance company, if you will, access control surveillance, would be bringing to market a NAS, especially when the NAS market is arguably saturated to the gills, right? And but this makes a lot more sense, right? They're maturing the product line.
Yeah, I think that's it. It is a fit with what they're doing and their goals. They're really trying to make small business IT management easier. And I mean, their goal is to get into the enterprise space, but they want to dominate. And I feel, I mean, their market cap, their earnings calls were done. Their market cap is over $30 billion. So people still look at them as a startup, but I mean, their $30 billion market cap tells me they're moving some product. So.
Yeah, for sure. I imagine though, if they did try to actually break into the enterprise, they would have stiff competition. There's some entrenched players in there already, for sure.
You know, there are, but to the same extent, I think it's one of those, these entrenched players are doing it the way they've always done it. This is the challenge where a bunch of entrenched players have this entire ecosystem of resellers, licensing agreements, and you know, things like market development funds, where they create this whole ecosystem of giving companies money to promote them more. And when you start looking at all that, they start steering away from the product, and they do everything they can to create market lock-in. It's one of the reasons, I mean, we joked about Fortinet earlier, but I've always said, people ask, why is Fortinet so popular? Why is Fortinet one of the most popular ones if their security's so bad? And I'm like, a reseller program is a hell of a drug. Once people are hooked on that commission, man, I mean, why would I replace it? I remember one guy flat out told me, I think with all the license renewals, he goes, we make $100,000 a year in license fees with all the Fortinets we have deployed. I don't care how bad they are. It's $100,000 a year in free money from just renewing licenses.
Yeah, they got in good with the government and the financial industry right early on, and they've been able to keep their grasp on that. I remember in professional life, I had some pretty bad run-ins with Fortinet. 40 Sandbox, 40, just FortiGate, all of it. And you're just like ripping that stuff out. But, you know, the company was small enough and flexible enough where you could do that, right? You could, but some of these, especially like the government, I know the government's got a bunch of investment in FortiGate, and like, you can't just do that. So you end up sticking around and paying the renewals. And that's a fair point.
Yeah. You know, I think I can share a slide here because it's going to be in my video. So I mean, it's fine sharing it. So I'm thinking I can click the button. Let me find a way to do this. I think if I click present, it'll let me do this tab. There we go. This is part of the video. It's going to be published tomorrow. Oh, I think tomorrow. I got to look at. Oh, I think you got to hit. Yeah, hit it. I should slide it. There you go. The cloud commission problem. And, you know, I have memes and stuff when I do my slide decks, but why storage gets pushed so hard. Cloud earns recurring commissions for sales teams. That is the line right here. This is why so many things are in the cloud and why no one wants to pull it out, because pulling it out requires you removing that commission for the sales guy. And they're like, no, this is my recurring revenue. I sell you a thing and there's incentivization. And a lot of it is like the systems. I think about the systems that create situations we're in, you know, whether it be the copyright conversation we had earlier, or cloud or commissions that are tied to something that makes it the default when people look for it. And that's part of like the intro I have to my cloud one is these are things. On-prem storage, I mean, don't get me wrong, 45 Drive says commission salespeople, but they sell an on-prem storage. You know what they got to sell you next? Another one, because they want to make it is about making quotas. But if I'm an AWS reseller, I sell it to you, and as your bill goes up, my commission goes up. Isn't that great? What do you mean you don't want to use AWS anymore? What do you mean your bill got to $6 million a year and you don't think that's good? I make commission on $6 million a year. I'm hoping you go to 7 next year.
But that's the truth. That's the cloud in a nutshell too, right? Lock-in is a big part of that. That's a huge part of it.
Yep. So it is just how things work. I just finished I was at a hacker conference. I think since I was talking to you, I was at one. I was in New York. An odd speaker there was Seth Godin. Seth Godin is known for his books on marketing and business strategy. He's not a hacker, by the way, at all. Okay. But he came there and he wanted to give a presentation to hackers, and I thought it was fun. But he talks about seeing the hidden systems that drive our world, how you can unravel them. And it's something he talks a lot about in his latest book, which I've read, called Strategy. But it makes you really think about the strategy that leads you to a place, or why the systems around us exist, and how do you interject in them, and what do you have to actually fundamentally do. You can't just throw out my UniFi product's better, it doesn't have this. Well, no one cares. There's a strategy of how you interject this and how you reshape the system to get to where you want to go.
Yeah, no, I believe that. I bet that's a fascinating talk. I used to interact a lot with marketing in my last organization, and the things that I learned and how I don't want to call it manipulation, but
marketing social engineering, you can just call it out.
Yeah. I mean, that's, and it's like everything. It's like one of those things that it hits me regularly where I'll see some sort of discipline, some sort of, and be like, oh, that can't be that complicated. And then come to find out the discipline has, years and years of science and analysis and development behind it. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, this isn't just like, oh, we're just going to be throwing some things. Like, they've learned how to interact and manipulate people into doing things. So it's amazing. All the funnels, everything, right? I'm sure you probably came across a little bit with your company too, right? Like,
I designed them. I still get, I have companies that hire me to do marketing consulting. I used to teach, not teach, this is the wrong word. I was a guest speaker for the University of Michigan's MBA program for a little while. I'd come in and talk about social media marketing. I used to do classes on it, getting people into it. It's one of those, the reason I was doing it, and the reason I'm at University of Michigan MBA when I was doing this, because this is my own marketing, public speaking. And so I would go do these because just follow the logic of how I want you to follow the logic of how I think about this. Who goes to University of Michigan? Kids that happen to have business owner parents. Their parents started a business and they, go send the kid off. The business is successful. They send the kid off to get their MBA. So it turns out from that, I actually end up with a bunch of clients because they go, hey, this guy came in here and he seems to know what he's talking about. And so that was among the marketing things I would do, is some of the public speaking. I used to do public speaking with banks, and the way banks work is they want to provide value to their business clients. What unfortunately that ends up is your bank probably sends you notices. Would you like to hear about 401ks and retirement plans? You're like, I'm not going to that, even if the food is free.
Right, exactly.
So working with some of the banks, I was like, how about I do this talk? It's called Protecting the Digital You. It was really basic stuff about computers and how to protect the digital footprint you leave online with very tangible takeaways. I also did ones on social media, because what business owners don't want to learn about social media. I never did one on I'll fix your computer, because that would also have been as painful as a 401k talk. So doing those talks was my marketing to just stand in front of people who would go, hey, what do you actually do when you're not up here showing that? Because I don't know if you remember this early hack. It was the gummy bear attack. This was the very first iPhones that had the fingerprint reader. You could put your gummy bear on your finger, and you could put it on the iPhone and unlock it. Yeah. Just have fun with people like that. Yeah. Gonna unlock your iPhone with a gummy bear. Yeah. And they're like, no.
That's brilliant thinking right there. That's what that is. Like, you give them a little bit of knowledge and they're like, hey, you're a cool guy. What do you do? And then you're hooked for a bunch of customers. I like that.
You get out there, make it fun, make it interactive. One of the last talks I did when AI first started getting popular, was it probably 2022? So it's been a wild ride, but it was when the image generators weren't amazing, but they were kind of cool. They're way better now. They produce like, hyper realistic. But I kicked off the talk because everyone wanted to hear a talk about AI. But how do you get the crowd engaged with you? And you got to do a magic trick. Magic trick was really fun. As I told them, it was going to be a cool magic trick and, grab some attention. I said, I need someone to call out an animal. Someone says cow. I said, great. Next person, I said, call out clothing. We're going to dress the cow. And they're like, a tutu. I said, I need a location. And someone said the moon. And I was like, I now need a verb. What is the cow doing? They're like, dancing. So I said, cow dancing on moon wearing a tutu. I typed it into the, which was the popular one back then? The name's eluding me right now. But
probably Mid-Journey back then.
Mid-Journey back then. Mid-Journey. This image comes up. It doesn't come up fast. The image comes up. And they're like, whoa, that's a cool trick. I'm like, well, it's really not a trick. And I said, this is how you actually type it. And I made a couple other variations of the animal, and they're all like, oh, this is neat. And they're, starting to see the use cases. And then I went on with the rest of the talk and had some fun. It's just about figuring out a way to engage and have fun. I try to figure out how to bring that to YouTube a little more, but the interactive stuff I do with crowds is always a little bit easier, which this is why I like live streams, because I'm more. Someone said I'm more animated on live streams. I'm like, yeah, I'm not trying to teach you how to set a firewall up. I don't know how I'd be good about being this animated about a firewall video. Like, I feel like I got to be a little bit slower and more concise when I do those.
Yeah. And I imagine if you were animated and gesticulated a lot, people would be like, what's wrong with Tom? He's like, he's just moving. It's just a firewall. I don't understand. Like, you can never win. Is the answer to that.
You can never win. That's the answer. I did learn. I'm trying to remember the word someone used. Oh man, it was a behavior. I didn't know it had a word where people are like this overhyped, over enthusiastic all the time when they're on camera. It begins with an H. Maybe someone in the comments will remember it. I had to Google it because someone says, I'm happy you're not insert word. And I'm like, I don't know what that word means. I don't know if it's good that I'm not that or bad that I'm not that. So I had to Google it.
Yeah.
Did you insult me and I didn't know it? Use a big word on me.
Hold on a second. Am I angry? I'm not angry. Okay.
I'm not angry. Okay. You're happy I'm not this thing. And I get that thing is kind of annoying because maybe we know YouTubers who dial it up to 11 are just too intense, and they're not like that in person. I'm like this in person. I'm a little bit more animated, depending on if I've had alcohol or not.
Yeah.
But I just think there's a different way, but I don't play it up for the camera. I usually just try to be concise when I'm doing tutorials. And I'm like that in person, like if I'm training a tech or if I'm walking you through something, or I'm having a client discussion about something serious in database engineering, or how we're going to set up their servers. There's times when I'm not cracking jokes. It's like, all right, I put on the focus hat.
Yeah. You brought it up, so I'm gonna ask you. Last time we hung out, we did talk a bit about AI. You think there's a bubble coming? Because that seems to be the new hotness, is to talk about the bubble.
Yes. I think I mentioned before, and this hasn't changed. I'm still a big fan of Ed Zitron. His latest series is, what does he call it? Oh, this is great. I got to pull up the title. He actually has a lot of good principles in this that are more than just, it's a good way to have an engaging debate, but he calls them How to Argue with an AI Booster. And it's a 3-part series he did of basically how to do it. There's a lot of strategy in debating people. Debating is not about being right. It's nice when you're right. That's a good thing when you're debating people. But there is a methodology to having a good engaged conversation where an audience is listening and what questions might trip them up. So he actually is walking through some of those things. But the fact that he calls them AI boosters, and man, he's got some great talking points of all the things that they've claimed repeatedly over the years that have never come to fruition, that they're just hyping it. And it's not that I don't think there will be some fallout for it, but I think the AI bubble is very different. It's obviously going to have some impact because NVIDIA is, selling the picks and shovels of this gold rush. Mm-hmm. It's going to hurt there, but it hurts probably me and you a little less because I have a feeling you didn't donate $1 billion to any of the AI companies. And
I did not. That's true.
We unfortunately are in a situation where I feel Silicon Valley has a lot of people with a lot more money than brains, but their assumption is, in their head at least, their hubris is, I have this much money, therefore I must be very smart. And as I talked to a person who quit working for a very, very large company prior to them going bankrupt, going from, big stock price to bankrupt. I remember, I'll never forget when at a conference I was talking to him, what's it like working for so-and-so? And I won't say any names here. The guy's worth like $3 billion. He goes, Tom, it's impossible to tell a guy making the kind of money he makes, he's doing anything wrong and that he's likely to be out of business in a year. And he'll call you from his yacht and just tell you how wrong you are because of his yachts. And he goes, I decided it was time to leave. I took my payout. And he goes, they hit the wall a year later. Just
smart.
Yeah. He goes, but you can't tell someone making that kind of money they're not smart. You have no weight. You have no bearing. They're disconnected from reality. They have a level of money that you could only conceptualize maybe a little bit of. So they've decided Sam Altman is their god of some sort. I don't know what they call it, but they throw money at his altar called ChatGPT. To think anyone could burn $5 billion in a year and then ask for more. I mean, I feel bad. If you give me $20, I lost it. I wouldn't ask you. I feel awkward. Like, I kind of lit it on fire. But when you talk about like 5 billion burned and go, we need more. Perhaps we need a nuclear power plant. Oh, and almost $1 trillion. Really?
It's amazing. Like, not just that you can ask for $5 million, but then you can ask again, and someone's like, "Oh yeah, let me get my wallet. Hold on one second." It's like it doesn't seem to have any problems getting his next level of funding investment.
Well, he's run into some issues lately. It's been highlighted. I mean, it's still hyper growth on the data center side because they're growing like it's no end. It's creating some other drama. I've been learning about people being kicked out of data centers because basically make space for AI if you won't pay these AI people that colos are getting eaten up. They're like, well, we know what your rent was, but here's your rent now because it turns out there's AI people who really want to move in here and we have
space is more valuable.
Yeah. But there's still some useful things out of AI. I have clients that actually use it for things, engineering work. So there's functional things it can be used for. It just isn't used for the things that is overhyped for. That's why it aggravates you. It is a technology I think is absolutely fascinating. You're having a conversation with a corpus of knowledge. That's cool. That is fascinating to me, going, hey, we have this incredible amount of data here. I can query it in a very natural language way to get a result. I had a great conversation when I was shopping I wanted to buy a motorcycle and I'm picky about what I buy. And I had a great conversation about very good details about the bike. And then when I buy the bike and then I say things, I'm a obsessive person about my motorcycles because I want to make sure I have every exact tool because I go off-roading, that if I'm stuck somewhere, I'll have the tools for it. So you go around and measure all the bolts to make sure you have all the tools that'll fit all the
every wrench you need, right?
Yeah, every wrench you need. I thought I could ask AI this. I wonder if this task would work for it. And it did it, except it argued with me because it told me the 23 millimeter was on the front and the 17 millimeter was on the back for this axle. And I'm like, no. It is definitely a much bigger axle nut on the rear and a smaller one on the front. This is visually obvious. And it says I was wrong. I mean, it had the right wrench. It told me which ones I needed, the 23 and the 17, but it had them backwards. So that always makes you question what else might it have gotten wrong. So that's the fun thing, is like the double checking of it, the hallucination. So it's an imperfect system, but still it got me really far with a lot of great suggestions on popular upgrades for the bike, what people thought of them, what tires are probably best to put on, etc. And that is just fascinating to me that I had a conversation like that with a AI tool that was, it's read. If you want to meet a completely different group of obsessive nerds, head over to the motorcycle forums and you're like, wow, these people, you thought the settings on ZFS were controversial. Which oil you use is a religious level debate for them. So it's like a distro argument. Oh, no, I use this oil or I use that oil. And then if they wander into the tire topic, watch out, because everyone's got really strong opinions. It's just a different group of nerds is what it is.
I have a buddy who's been a big BMW motorcycle fan, and he exposed me to that too, and I was just like, whoa, this is
they're
not
a class of their own, the BMW.
I can't do it. I mean I get it, but I can't do it. I find it interesting because I'm seeing something new that worries me a little bit, and that is I have been seeing especially in the professional side, companies who are now embracing Copilot or they're embracing ChatGPT as a tool, the over reliance in well, I know that it's smarter than I am. I'm just going to start asking it. And it becomes I'm seeing it becoming a crutch where you had people who were SMEs who had the knowledge and believed in themselves. And if they didn't have the knowledge, they could get the knowledge immediately going, I know I can just type this in here real quick and ask it. And I have a bit of a worry about that, because it also means that, like, you're talking to a manager and the manager's like, oh, I think I can do your job. I got this right here. Here it is. And that feels like a very slippery slope. So I'm worried about that. I see that happening in real life.
Where does it take society? Because, for example, and my friend's sister's like this. I didn't realize that this was a thing completely as bad as she is. She does not know how to get from her brother's house to her house, which is about 6 miles away, without the maps on. She uses maps for everything. I was like, no way. He goes, oh, dude, she does. And I asked her, because we had a whole discussion. She's like, yeah, I don't know how to go anywhere. I've always used Google Maps. And I'm just like, huh.
We are one solar flare away from her not knowing how to get home.
I know. It's like she could get lost in the adjacent city. And just, so there is that as kind of a factor that is an odd to me. Like, do we head more towards idiocracy? Some days I feel like we're heading there, but this could bring us there in a different way than we expected. I mean, even the writers didn't say, oh no, AI is just going to make us dumb and we don't have to know anything anymore.
Yep. Yeah. It'll be a welcome to Costco I love you moment. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be, granted, I have a better mapping in my head because I delivered pizzas, and my kids found it fascinating when I told them I delivered pizzas before GPS or before cell phones. You just had to, you had to understand the grid system and the addresses and memorize all the road names. And they're like, no way. I'm like, yeah, we just had a giant map on the wall. I would look at it. I'd go this, and then I could keep that in my head. Some people write stuff down, but after I delivered pizzas a lot, so I figured it out pretty quickly. And the grid wasn't too hard because of the way the neighborhoods are laid out. They're just track.
If they're logical, it's easy, right?
Yeah, it's very logical. Very few curvy streets. There's like, most of them are just a grid. It goes this way and it goes this way. The two addresses converge at a couple points, and once you know what those points are, you're done. You can just go, yeah. If you're the 7200 block, you are north of Ecorse Road. If you're the 8400 block, you are south of Wick Road. It's like those little things just stick in my head. God, that's been 30 years, and I still have all those numbers.
Yeah, I was actually telling my wife a couple of days ago, like, I was thinking about how we used to travel distant places with a fistful of papers we printed out, right? We'd have MapQuest, and the thought of being like driving down an interstate, thumbing through the maps, trying to make sure you get your exit, and we have come a long way. There's no question about that. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I remember MapQuest. It was kind of cool because I felt like I could venture further away. Like, the destinations I would go to are just the ones I grew up going to because I always knew how to get there. I'd been the past so many times. We have a cabin up in northern Michigan. It's about 4.5, 5 hours away. I have gone there so many times. I know exactly the route. I knew that when I was a kid. I knew what exit. It's exit 202 off I-75, left in Rose City. Like, the directions are in my head. I know then it comes 72 in Standish. You turn this way and just
kind of deal. You could be blindfolded and thrown in the back of a trunk, and you'd still know that.
Yeah, I know the bumps and go, we just crossed through this, and then there's the infamous pink elephant along the way. There's this one. It was it wasn't actually a Dairy Queen, but it was like an ice cream place, and they always had the pink elephant there, and a cop used to sit on the other side of the pink elephant because those little rural towns, I imagine, are like that out by you. You go from 55-mile rural road to 25 through the downtown area, and the cops just waiting there.
Yep, they know where to get
25, you. High.
Yep, speed traps all day long.
Speed traps in every small town. There's like one cop, and his only thing to do. There's nothing going on in a small town. There's like 100 people there, and there's one cop doing a speed trap thing.
Yeah. Well, it's past our hour, and I want to respect your time, and I appreciate you hanging out with me. I always enjoy our conversations, so we go all over the place, and that's awesome.
Yeah, it's always fun. Is there any couple questions people have before we wander off?
This will throw it out to the audience. Is there anything you want to ask Tom or me, or collectively the collective knowledge of the two of us here? I think they just came to hang out with us and
I remember Tom was the navigation thing.
They still make those. I mean, maybe not TomToms, but like the little PNDs, personal navigation devices. I was at a Best Buy, and I don't know who buys them because we all have a personal navigation device in our pockets. So,
well, the BMW guys have their own special setups because it's controlled on they got little dials on their BMW that make the navigation do things. I used to ride with the BMW Adventure Crew. They allowed me to be there with my Yamaha. It was okay.
I don't know. I would say that I think that unless you're in with the wrong crowd, I've always found those guys to be very warm and welcoming about any motorcyclist is going to be, unless it's a Harley. I guess the Harley guys are very particular about being with other Harley drivers.
Harley guys are kind of particular, probably not as bad as they used to be. The BMW guys, they just like to razz you because you don't have a BMW. But I had my amazing vengeance because I'll share this last story real quick. We were in the middle of nowhere, riding through, doing watercrossing, doing all the things you do on big adventure bikes. And my friend's BMW decided to stop, and it wouldn't go over 10 mile an hour. Apparently, BMW has this thing called limp mode. And what limp mode is, we have found an error in all these amazing electronics in this BMW, so we will limit your speed. Well, limiting our speed to 10 mile an hour meant we were going to take a very long time to go from the middle of nowhere to being anywhere. And obviously, even anywhere close wasn't anywhere that would service a BMW that requires special electronics. But first, I get to make the joke that his BMW went limp on the ride, and I was greatly happy about this. So, it brought me great joy. But then my solution was, I think we just need to reboot it. He's not a computer guy, but he kind of got the idea. And he goes, "You mean like take the battery off?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's take the battery off." Because it wouldn't give an error. It just said, "See your service center." And we're like, "Yeah, the service center's 4 hours from here." Yeah. And so what we do is we disconnect the battery and reconnect it. And then it would work for about 30, 40 minutes. And we could do whatever speed we wanted. And then it would stop. And then we'd disconnect and reconnect the battery. We did that. It took us a little bit extra time to get home, but we made it. We made it the 5-hour trip back home with this limping BMW.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, the more technology you squeeze into it, the more likely you're going to be in that situation, right? So.
Yeah. Well, and that was my goal. The motorcycle I bought is a Honda XR650. It is fuel. It's not before fuel injection, but it is a bike Honda still makes today that has no fuel injection. I bought a used one, so it's still carbureted. There's no ABS, no electronics. It's completely old school. It's 1990s technology, and it looks like it's actually the bike I sent you a picture of. But it was the bike. Me and ChatGPT had a lot of discussion, so I landed. I'm like, oh, it's still modern and still sold. I can get parts for it, but it's completely old school, and I love that because I'm just not worried about things going wrong. I sold another bike I had because it had so many sensors and traction control and functions, and it was novel, but I was like, this is going to break, and I want something I can just beat up out in the woods and not ever have it go in limp mode.
Yeah, being able to fix it when you're out on the trail is probably the primary thing you need, right?
Someone said, are EV bikes a thing? Yes and no. They're getting better. They're not quite there yet, but they're pretty cool. There's a guy here in Detroit. I see him at some of the motorcycle meetups. He built his own EV bike, and he started with a frame of a Yamaha and built it. It's just wild. And the range on it's pretty good and everything else. I think it's like 60, 70 miles out of it. Which is fine for just riding around town. He rides it back and forth to work. Actually, what he says is, I ride to work and the boss pays to fill it up because I get to park it in the shop and I plug it in at work, and it's enough charge for me to get back home every day. That's
the way to do it. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's the beauty of a bike like yours is that, you can stop and spend 10 minutes, put some gas in it, and off you're running, right? You don't have to.
Well,
there's no weight.
When you do with the older bikes too. So the newer ones, and I have like a little Piaggio. It requires high octane gassing. They have these high compression fuel injected engines versus the old school ones are low compression. You can run with 87 or less octane, maybe a little water in there. It's good. It'll start up and run.
Built like a tank.
Just shake the carb out. The toolkit on there, I can take anything off on the bike in a matter of a few minutes. And I put a ridiculously big tank on it. I've got 5.8 gallons of gas because why not? The guys I rode with last weekend, I told them, they see the tank and they go, that is just ridiculous. After we went riding, I went over 200 miles and then drove home, and I think it's like 221. And I took a picture. I said, there's still some left. I'm not on reserve yet. And they're just like, that is ridiculous, Tom. I'm like, exactly why I have it. I couldn't, like, it wasn't much more to buy the bigger take. So I went and ordered the biggest take I could find because I don't know.
Yeah, why not? Right?
Why not? Why not just keep going?
Okay, well let's bring it to an end. Tom, again, thank you so much. What's
Absolutely.
coming up for you? Do you have what's the next big video? Is it going to be your interview with Jude or what?
Ooh, I'm looking forward to the interview with Jude. So we're going to dive deep into some ZFS and NVMe topics. We're also probably going to cover some dedupe. I have, based on suggestions from my video I posted earlier, I'm going to be doing some deeper dives into TrueNAS. There's a couple of weird esoteric things, especially around deduplication I haven't covered, and I'm going to go at those in depth. Along with, I want to, it's been a year since I did this, ZFS torture test. That's the one I'm really looking forward to. We actually took high voltage and started zapping a motherboard with high voltage while it was doing functions to show how hard it is to corrupt ZFS. So I'm going to simulate that again with my better skills at making videos than I had in 2017. So it's how long, it's actually 2018 is when I made that video. So we're gonna see how much better Tom is in 2025 at making that. So I want to show people the resiliency, what actually happens. I'm going to break things that you probably wouldn't want to break or worry about with your data, but yeah, YOLO, man. I'm a YouTuber. I'm supposed to break some stuff and break things so you don't have to.
Oh, I love it. That would be an awesome video. How are you going to zap it? I mean, I don't want to give away your secret sauce, but like,
oh no, there's no secret sauce. I have a bunch of high voltage stuff because I acquired a bunch of neon sign transformers. I think that's what they are. I don't know where, I don't remember at all where I got these now. That is lost to time where Tom acquired these, but I think they're in the range of 40,000 or 50,000 volts. They will throw an arc. We have Jacob's ladders with them and all kinds of stuff that I've done. So right yeah, they're dangerous. I'm very careful. It's careful.
So. The last video Tom made.
yeah. So I've got those. I also have some smaller. I think I got one in here. Ones I ordered off Amazon. They're mini ones that just they hurt when they hit you, but the voltage is a lot lower. But it doesn't really take too much voltage to destroy a motherboard. It turns out. So it gets the demo. Yeah. Someone says neon sign transformers sound about right. Yeah, I think that's what they are. They weigh a lot and. Boy, they're fun to play with because setting up a Jacob's ladder, it's just like if someone were to try to dig around, they would probably be able to find a video of us playing with it in the earliest days of YouTube because I think there is at least some video somewhere of us doing stupid things with it. So
that and the magnetron out of a microwave that'll produce some arcs too.
Yes, I've definitely played with those. Not everyone knows this. I used to have. In 2004, I bought an electronics store called Suburban Electronics, and we did TV repair, VCR repair. I did that for years. I had launched systems starting in 2023, but I wanted a retail store for computers. So I bought Suburban Electronics and we renamed it Suburban Computers and Electronics. And we had retail computers, and alongside we'd fix tube amps, we'd fix hi-fi audio, VCRs, projection TVs. Remember those things? Oh, yeah. So yeah, I had a bunch of technicians. So I have a background in doing electronics. So that's a little weird side note.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to that video. That sounds like a lot of fun. That's the kind of stuff that keeps people viewing from start to finish right there.
It is. And it came up when, you've lost your way. You're not torturing ZFS anymore. I'm like, you're right. That is, I feel called out, and I feel that they were right and I should do this again. So.
Well, cool. All right, Tom. Thanks again. And we'll have you on soon. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So.
All right, man. Take care.
Yeah. Bye.